Right, hey guys, welcome to my review episode of the after the deep playthrough 100% of PGR4. That intro trailer, it remains epic. I really find it a cool one. I've seen it a couple of times now, but it's pretty damn epic. It is not like a totally fully prepared and scripted review. I'm not a professional reviewer. I just share my gameplay as I go through games blindly, but more and more I do. Some of these playthroughs are really quite long, just like the previous one, Gran Turismo 4 to 100%. This one as well, I think it's around 125, 130 episodes or something. And by the way, a lot of failed attempts that are not in the playthrough that I just couldn't include because it was too monotonous. But more and more these longer playthroughs, actually really deep playthroughs, that's why I call them deep playthroughs. I actually observe things and then I make some notes in a notepad or just on paper during the playthrough. And I thought it's a nice way to really do these 100% playthroughs, to wrap them up with a review episode like I did for Gran Turismo. So this one is for PGR4, a game that fully deserves that extra attention, I think, because I can already basically reveal the conclusion. I find it an amazing racer. It's an amazing game. There's so much to like in this game, and also to hate, but that actually only adds to the likes. I will explain that later. So yes, this is the review episode, more or less off the cuff, based on the notes I took during the playthrough, the review episode of PGR4. So let's end the intro trailer. And actually I already recorded this whole review episode, but I forgot that the sound was totally out of balance. Compared to, I let some replays run in the background and that totally drowned out my voice. So that was an hour and a half lost. So here I am again. I tried to edit the voiceover volume versus the sound effect volume and the music volume, but I was unsuccessful because it was one audio track. And as far as I saw with the editors that I tested, I use Shortcuts. It's a free, really good, I think a pretty complete editor package, but I did not find a way to only enhance the voiceover volume. So here I am at it again. Anywho, let's indeed run some replays in the background, just for some visuals. You see here, these are basically the replays that I saved that are really crazy hard. Like especially, I will get into it later, this one, the Nürburgring Reverse in arcade mode, took me 32.5 hours. This one took 7 hours. This one took 7 hours. This one took 5 hours. Yeah, so there's quite some time investment. I have 2 times the Behemoth, on November 5th and on November 19th. Probably this is just a fluke. Here another one, 7 hours. So this is 7 hours. Only the ones that I noted down the duration. This is 5, so that's 12, 7, it's 19, 32 and a half. What becomes 40, 51 and a half, plus 7, 58 and a half, and this one I don't know. But so this is only like 5 or so races, took me around 60 hours already. It's pretty crazy getting everything on a win in the career mode and also platinum medals in the arcade mode, which is not that hard, except when you get to the bikes. The bikes are so much harder than the cars. Anyways, here we go. Let's put something on the background. This one, indeed, if I see this, I almost get post-traumatic stress disorder. This one was the first really hard one. was crazy. But I'm totally rambling and sidetracking. Let's get my notes. So I hope this doesn't drown out the voiceover volume now like it did before. These loud V8s. I do hear it too loud in my headset, so I'm gonna do that a little bit softer. Or maybe I'm going to, yeah, I'm really going to do it super, almost silent. It's the first time I did that. During the playthrough I had it really like super loud sound effects in my headset while also doing commentary, and that's, I do that for immersion, like these super epic sound effects in this game, but that also sometimes made me not really hear my own voice, and then I started to raise my voice and basically screaming during the commentary. I'm not screaming, but talking way too loud, I think. This is the first time it's really actually quite peaceful, that I'm talking while recording with nearly no sound other than my voice. It's quite refreshing actually. Not that I like my voice that much, but at least I can hear myself talk. Anyways, we have the intro. I will do a quick intro, then I do my likes, then I do a few dislikes to balance it out, and then the conclusion. So starting with the intro, the bottom line I would say is that this game exactly does what it says on the tin. And with the tin I mean the trailer that we started this review episode with. It really looked, at least to me, like adrenaline filled, balls to the walls, racing like your life depends on it. Totally action-filled mental races, and the game actually delivers on that, and I find that totally commendable, because mostly the vast majority of game trailers oversell games. When the actual final product arrives, it is watered down. You can all remember the first Watch Dogs with amazing graphical fidelity, the trailers, and then the real game came out and it was like nothing like it. And there are so many other examples that I now cannot think of, but it happens a lot. In this game, not. This game really is what you see in the trailer is what you get. And if you really are in for a wild ride, then this absolutely is the game for you. So as mentioned, I am wrapping the deep playthrough up with a review episode, just my thoughts and observations that I had while playing through the game. I 100%ed the game, the career, I did everything on hardcore with a win in every single event, stage, challenge, however you call it, everything a win. Some of them took a long time, like the one you see on screen now. And the arcade mode, everything, cars and bikes with platinum medals. Yeah, that is a little bit my basis for the thoughts that I will be sharing. After a very entertaining and a wild ride. So starting with the likes, first like that I have that I noted down is the cool factor and the plain fun of the game. It's the vehicle lineup, it's very varied, the menu music, it's actually, I played it on the emulator, and actually there's I think an issue with the emulator for in-game music not being enabled. I don't mind, because I always turn it off anyways. I prefer to listen to the actual sound effects. So the in-game music is not available in the emulator, but there is the menu music. And we already looped this replay now anyways. You can hear it here. There is menu music, of course, and that tune, it is really uplifting to me. It is looping around endlessly, but it doesn't get old with me. It's a really, yeah, cool tune, I would say. also when you do the arcade mode, there's like a slight variation to it. I think. Wait, I don't hear it myself now. I put the volume. Yeah. Anywho, vehicle lineup, menu music. I cannot comment on the in-game music because it wasn't available in the emulator, but the menu music, the crazy situations in-game, like you have the Nürburgring in the snow in a 50s Maserati without any assists. You have those bike opponents with their taunting animations, like totally mental, like a biker doing 270 kilometers an hour on the Nürburgring in a corner, making mad gestures to overtaking cars. Things that is a little bit over the top, but it really adds to the fun. It's really like basically the action-packed sequences in a AAA Michael Bay movie, a little bit the idea. You have the rags to riches garage showrooms where you can admire your vehicle lineups. In my view, it all bred cool and most importantly fun. So it's a bit of a generic like this one. It's not really scientific, of course it's subjective, or it's not really objective, it's subjective, but I think this game really has a cool factor. And for example, that is hard to nail. I didn't play many Need for Speed games lately because I really find like basically all gaming, it all goes backwards. It gets worse and worse as the years go on, especially the last 10 years. So I'm just not drawn to them anymore like I was with Need for Speed Hot Pursuit in the 90s, or Need for Speed 2 or 3, the oldies. Those were amazing games. But now they also really try to give Need for Speed these characters. It almost becomes like an RPG with street racers. And honestly, one of the reasons I don't play them is because I see the trailer footage and I find it totally cringe how they develop the characters and how they are supposed to be cool dudes and dudettes. So it's very cringy to me, which totally detracts from what is supposed to be an action-packed racing game. And this game has no cringe at all. It doesn't take itself too seriously, but at the same time, in my view, and again, it's subjective, but it oozes cool, this game. The vehicle lineup, the actions, on track, it's just amazing experience. Then talking about the vehicle lineup, my next like, it's not the longest list, but it's more than enough with very nice variation. After 100% completion, there were still many bikes and cars I wasn't able to use. And I actually had to test those because it's a deep playthrough. I did want to at least drive or touch every vehicle in the game. So I resorted to a testing episode, an epilogue episode, just before this review episode, where I tested all the cars that I was not able to use in the arcade mode and in the career mode. And I think that was 30, maybe 40% of the total vehicle lineup. I don't know how many vehicles there are in the game, maybe 120, 130 or something. But I can tell you from my experience, really after 100%, it's more than enough. And personally, I am way more a proponent of quality over quantity. Instead of having a Gran Turismo car list where you have like 50 variations of the same Nissan Skyline, I am totally more on board with cutting all that excess fat off and just having a focused car list with detailed cars and also very nice variation within the car list, which is also possible with 120 vehicles. You don't need 500 vehicles to have sufficient variation. So car list, to me, it's absolutely a strong point. You have racing-based beasts like the Ferrari GTO Evolution. I wasn't even aware it existed. The cool car, like the Lamborghini RGT. You have the panels, I think it's called the RGT1. Those are all really like track monsters. But then you also have the category of cars, like the older ones, the first gen LP400 Lamborghini Countach or Countach. You have an old Mini Cooper. You have the what's that called? That Lotus, that weird Lotus that I find really a mix, a hybrid between a sports car and a pickup truck. That's the Lotus. God damn it! I will quickly look it up because. Lotus 60s car or 70s maybe it is. One moment. 70s. Here, this one. I always forget the name. Lotus Europa. I think there's Lotus Europa in the game, and so that is the old category. Also, for example, the beautiful Toyota 2000 GT. And then you'll get to not really like the full Le Mans racers, that was the first category, but you have the furious open wheelers, like you have the Aerial Atom, you have the rocket car, which I think actually I learned in game. Or maybe I looked it up on Wikipedia. I think I looked it up on Wikipedia, but it was the first designed road car by Gordon Murray before he went on to design the McLaren F1. But you have the rocket open wheeler, you have several car types of Radical and of Palmer, a brand I totally forgot about, but it's in the game. And then besides cars, of course, you go into the whole bike section. You have like old school bikes like a Norton Manx. Two super bikes like the Ducati 998 or the Suzuki GSXR. And of course the Hayabusa, the bike that was, I think, forbidden in only a couple of countries. It was allowed. In most other countries it was forbidden because it was just too fast. But anyways, if you look at that list of vehicles, I cannot say cars because it are also bikes. The variety is huge, and they're all nice picks. There are no vehicles there that I think like, yeah, why or really why do you put this in the game? No, they're all epic. So yeah, it's really the opposite of like 50 variations of the same Nissan Skyline in Gran Turismo, and that's a strong point to me in the game. And then we get to the next like, that is detail and immersion. Just some examples I broke down during the playthrough on the level of detail that the developers applied to the game while developing. Really kudos to it's Criterion Games, right? Before I say it wrongly, so we do PGR4 Criterion because I mix them up with the developers of Drive Club sometimes. One moment. Idiot, I typed the wrong thing. Yeah, PGR4 wiki. Yeah, Bizzare Creations, and then Drive Club. I think it is Liverpool Studios or something. Let me check, because I will probably do Drive Club after this one. It's a game that totally flew under my radar at the time. Drive Club wiki. Although I can already say that I playtested Drive Club for a couple of minutes, and it felt much more one-dimensional than PGR4. So based on that very quick first impression, I say PGR4 is a much better game. Anywho, this is developed by Evolution Studios. I think it was also something like Liverpool or some UK city. Apparently not. So that is Evolution Studios and Criterion Games. Sorry, I got totally sidetracked there. What were we talking about? Yeah, the amount of detail that they put in the game. So some examples. Air valves on rims in replay, the close-up shots where the camera is really close up to the side of the car. You see the wheels turning, including the air valve on the rim. That's a little detail that if they wouldn't have put it in there, nobody would have batted an eye, but they did put it in there. So very nice. You have extremely, for the time 2007, in my view, detailed and authentic interiors. For example, with working dashboards, if you pull the handbrake, it activates the, just like in a real car, a red dash warning light. Mirrors can break off the car if you hit something, and they remain on the ground. They not immediately fade out of existence. Also in the dashboards, if the car in real life, so I'm not talking about the HUD indicators, but really in the dashboard itself, in the game itself. If the guy, the car, the dashboard in real life has a working dash or a gear shift indicator, or example a digital speedometer, or it has like these little rev LEDs that indicate when you're nearing the rev limiter, often on the steering wheel. Those are all fully functional in the dashboard. So that is a really nice detail. And then also very minor thing, but the backfire exhaust is random. Sometimes flames come from the left pipe, sometimes from the right exhaust, sometimes from both exhausts, or some cars do not have any backfire. If it doesn't make sense, so that could totally be. And it shows that it's not done by the numbers, like, oh yeah, we need backfire in the car because all the younger crowd finds it epic, so let's just very mathematically, clinically put it in. Like each time there's a gear shift, you have two backfires from both exhausts. No, it is random, so it feels much more authentic and natural in this game. And maybe other games do it as well, I don't know, but it's just something I noticed and I thought to mention. Then also the working suspension travel in cars. You have, for example, the Toyota GT1. You have it on the Lotus 7. It's an open wheeler, so there, yeah, it's quite logical that you see the front wheels, if you're in the cockpit view, moving about a bit. Otherwise, if it would be totally static, it would be a bit weird. Although it wouldn't surprise me if other developers would take a shortcut and just go that route, like no suspension travel at all. But in this game you really see significant suspension travel, but even in the Toyota GT1, that's a race car with fenders. So they wouldn't have bothered. I played it only in first-person cockpit view, so you don't really normally see the wheel. Were it not for the fact that the GT1 has like this little gap in the front fenders, just where the wheel covering connects to the actual hood. There's a little bit of a protrusion with a gap in it, through which you can see the wheel. And within that gap you see the suspension working totally realistically. They really didn't have to bother with it. They could have just not added in that gap and forego about the working up-close suspension travel. But and nobody would have batted an eye, but they did put it in there. So kudos to Criterion. Then also what helps for me, the detail, yeah, it's also immersion, are the many real-life brands in the game. I'm not sure how that works, whether the brands need to pay Criterion a fee just because it's a semi kind of, or maybe Microsoft have to pay, I don't know who has the license, but it's a kind of advertisement, of course, or whether it's the other way around, that the developer actually has to pay the brands for their brands to be able to be in-game to make it more authentic. I'm not sure how it works, but who has to pay who, but they did do a serious job at it, because the amount of real-life brands in this game is the most I saw in any game, and it really ranges from the weirdest, from the whole breadth of different company types you have in real life. Like, these are only a couple of examples, but of course you have, not of course, but you have Subway sandwiches, you have Bose audio systems, Western Union, money exchange, Honeywell, I think some industrial corporation, Samsonite suitcases, Sparco suspension, Puma fashion, McDonald's food. This is only, these are, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. These are only 8, but there are way more to mention, and it really helps immersion in my view. Really sell the city environment, which by themselves, even without branding, are totally realistic and epic. By the way, I totally forgot. I need to put on some replay just to make it a little bit more interesting than watching a bike spin around for like an hour. Sorry for that. Let's start another replay. Alright, this one was my, I still have shivers thinking back about it. 32.5 hours this one took me. Anyways, back to the detail and the immersion. So, oh, no, it's not really this one, but I will, it's the other one on the Nürburgring, but this one took me only 7 hours. But anyways, the brands really sell the authenticity of the city environments. And then you also have a lot of landmarks in the game, in the respective cities, like Trafalgar Square in London, you have Piccadilly Circus, and you also have, like, for me less known, but I'm sure real life locations, like very famous buildings, like famous hotels in Vegas. Probably the Americans among you will better recognize them. I do not that much, but I did recognize the Vegas Strip, and it all feels super detailed and realistic. So very immersive game in that respect, and detail immersion was my next like. And then we get to the graphics. I can be short, it also really helps immersion. It is a very believable lighting model, I would say. And then I should not show this replay actually, talking about lighting, because for this single replay I had to refer to a lower emulator detail setting, because the higher setting had too much slowdown at the middle of the Nürburgring. But that lower setting actually doesn't do the lighting fully justice. I think the high quality setting in the emulator also is not fully 100% identical to the 360 version. I really would have loved to have played the 360 version, but yeah, I don't have a 360 anymore. I had to contend with the emulator, which was totally fine on high quality setting, but there was this one race I had to lower it to low. But let's do high quality. This is that other Nürburgring race, I think. So this is all in high quality, at least I'm pretty sure. And the lighting model is amazing. It's a very believable skybox lighting, I find. There's the top-notch city environments. They're varied. They are very detailed, especially the textures of a lot of the buildings in the cities, the color tone. It almost looks photorealistic, especially when you're blasting past. It's very, very well done, and it looks totally, yeah, still up there in 2023. It's amazing. I'm sure if it adapted to 4K 60 FPS, it could pass for a current day game. It's really that amazing. I will quickly show you what I mean with those textures of the cities. Is there a London one here? Macau, maybe this is London, I don't know. Nope, this is, that one also took so long. That was New York. Here, these two are London. Yeah, I'm not sure this this is the best track to show of London, but again, the landmarks, you have that Ferris wheel, you have the Big Ben over there, and it's all about the color tone, which just, that grey of the buildings, it's just a believable grey. It's not oversaturated like so many games do, especially nowadays. How the hell do I start it again? There we go. Yeah, this is unfortunately not the best track to show it off, because it doesn't have a lot of buildings. Maybe the other one has. Because after this little start section we just go into a more open white area. I think it's near that palace in London. What's it called? Is that Kensington Palace? 1 second, I'm curious. London Palace. Bucking, of course, I'm an idiot. But you also have Kensington Palace, by the way. You have multiple palaces. God damn it. Wish I had a palace. So let's do the other one. Yeah, also the variety, but we get to that of the weather effects. But this is the same track. Let's just do New York then. This is also not the New York track that I wanted to show. There are more dense ones, but still it's all about that those windows you see over there. The lower ones are just like blackish, and then the higher you get up they are a bit more reflective, a little brownish. It just all feels so believable. That building to the right, the windows actually reflect. So there's some yeah, accurate reflections there, just as this building over here. And then, yeah, it's a pity that this is again not the best track to show the cities. But alright, let's try let's try one more. Sorry, I'm really not reinforcing my point here. But believe me, the cities are amazing. Let's do Macau just for fun. Where was it? I saw one Macau race somewhere. Here, this one. In the Corvettes. Yes, it is also this building, for example. You see the air conditioners, it's the color tone, it is the skybox color, these buildings here. It just, if you would have like a Grand Theft Auto open world game in a city like this would be an amazing city. Look at the storefronts. I'm sure they're all mostly actually real life ones. They did an amazing job. Here, look at the detail of this this crane machine, heavy duty digging machine. They did an amazing job of recreating believable cities in a racing game. Much better than many open world games, actually. So, also the fact, look at this building and that building over there and the one over there. None of them feels copy-pasted. You don't see any repetition. But I'm sure there are some that are copy-pasted, but you literally do not notice it. It really feels all organic or authentic and unique, each building. So it is here. Let's check out the Journal do Cidadão Loa. I'm sure that is, I think it's maybe a journal, like a newspaper publisher. I'm sure that's a real life building. This one again, this just looks better than buildings. This is 720p and still it looks much more believable than so many modern games. Check out That window over there, it's open. It doesn't have a window. It's little details like that, the smudginess, the erosion of the concrete, that really sells the environments. I really find it amazingly well done. Here, this is Edificio Marbella. Sure, it's a real life building. So, to me, for immersion's sake, they nailed it absolutely on the head. Oh shit, wrong button. And that was the graphics. So I'm sure if they put it to 4K 60 FPS, you could sell it today, this game. This game really begs for a remaster. Instead of all the lame remasters that we got in the past, all the woke remasters that we got in the past 5 to 10 years. These are the games that needs to be remastered. Without any woke elements, please. Unfortunately that will never happen, because the studio, Criterion, I think it was sold just after the game, where they made one other game like Blur after this one, and then it was sold to... No, it was, I think, sold after this game, and then they went to another studio, and then they made Blur. I don't know the exact specifics, but unfortunately they don't exist anymore, and I'm really sad about that, because that was... those guys must have had really good chemistry together, producing a top of the range product, not only graphics wise, but also sound wise. And that's my next like. It's a nice bridge, the amazing audio in this game. Adding to the details in graphics is the audio. If not done already, then the sound guys at Bizzare Creations all need to get a bonus paid out retroactively. Audio design is bar none, even to this day. It feels analog, it feels mechanical, visceral, and epic. You have the rumble of the V8s, notably the Panos Esperante, the Saleen S7 and the SSC. I think it's Shelby Supercars or something. Arrow. They really have like a deafening rumble. It's incredibly epic. But then you also, from the low rumble, you go to the 14K revs, screaming bike engines. You have the whining V12s of the Ferraris, you have the violent thumps of gear shifts, you have backfire banks, and then I'm not talking about the fake annoying crackles of the real life 2023 Audi boys, which are so, or the Volkswagen Golf boys, they are so annoying. Those light little farts that they program into those cars when lifting off, only to compensate for the fact that the cars sound like crap otherwise. And to me they sound even crappier with those artificial pops and bangs. That is not what I'm talking about. In this game you have the old school cars, the late 90s, the early 2000s, where the cars sounded epic by themselves and they had natural backfire, so not some engine management system, putting in some extra fuel in a hot exhaust to create an artificial crackle. No, these are the natural, authentic backfire banks. They sound amazing. You have turbo wastegate that you hear. You hear turbo spool or whatever it is. What I'm hearing spooling, but it sounds very immersive. Maybe it's a supercharger or a turbo. You have a differential whine, all put together. It is just a very coherent and incredible sound experience in this game. It really is bar none. And also, not only the effects themselves, but environmental. If you, for example, you look backwards when you are in cockpit view to see who is behind you, you can press a button and you look back. Then you hear, if you're driving through the rain, you hear the tires creating the spray sound of the spraying water. That are really little details that I really didn't have to bother with, but it's in there. Or another example of very detailed sound design. There is one track, I forgot what it was, maybe Tokyo or Seoul, where there is, you can see a metro passing by. And talking about metros passing by, you also have other tracks where you see regular commuter cars driving by in the distance. That makes it feel, also talking about those city environments, very immersive. Like you're not only on this specific track and the rest doesn't exist. You're within a bigger city. So you see regular roadways on the other side of the track with regular cars passing by, which is a very nice detail. I didn't see it in any other racing game, stuff like that. One moment, I will just switch up the replay. Anywho, there's this metro also driving by in one of the city environments, and at one point, and that's nice for immersion, like okay, you see you drive under a bridge and under a track bridge, a railway track bridge, and you see a metro passing by. But I was coincidentally just stationary there. I was parked with my car. I was probably thinking how I screwed up my previous attempt again. And then that metro came by, and it had like a totally realistic metro sound, like the click, 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 click of the iron wheels rolling over the track. It had like that, yeah, just, I don't know how you call it, but just the sound that an electrical engine of a metro makes. Totally authentic sound, and it was only like for 5 seconds it came by, and then it faded out into the distance. But that is amazing little detail of environmental detail, and specifically about sound detail. And then you also have details like the authentic, the very authentic, peculiar, specific. Recognizable Ducati idle sounds. The Ducati bike, some of them at least, I think, has like this specific desmodromic valve technology, which makes really kind of a tapping sound. Like, I think it may be the valves themselves, or the what do you call that? What connects the valve spring to the camshafts. One moment. That up. Quickly googling. Yeah, tumblers maybe. Anywho, it will be the valves or the tumblers or whatever it is, but that idle sound of Ducati bikes, it sounds totally like I expect. Or actually how a real-life Ducati bike that I heard idling besides me at the traffic light, how that one sounded. So again, nice detail. They could have just put in some generic idling sounds, but no, you really hear that tapping sound. And also environmental, how the audio fades in and out when cars are approaching or passing by and disappearing into the distance. Feels very natural. It doesn't have the echoey reverb, like for example the later Gran Turismo titles have. I mean, Gran Turismo sound, especially GT4, GT3, never was its strong point. It did improve quite a lot, I think, I find in GT7, but still it sounds almost like if you watch replays, that it was recorded in some kind of a factory hall. There's way too much echo, it sounds very hollow. In this game, not at all. The sound design, so from the composite perspective, where everything comes together and you just look like external, you look at external shots like we do now. It just sounds amazing. To the different separate sound effects themselves, which are also amazing. I will, for an example, very quickly do a drive in, for example, that Panos. That car really had, like, I found a super epic sound. a V8, so we do the vehicle. Panels will be quite high up, I guess. Yeah, it will probably be over here. Where is the panels? Here it is. Let's go to London. Somehow I like that track. By the way, here you see all the different tracks. Las Vegas, London, Macau, New York City, Nürburgring, Quebec, Shanghai, St. Petersburg, Tokyo, and then there is also the Michelin test track. So more than enough. Or not as much as Gran Turismo, and probably I never played Forza, or I didn't play Forza since like decades, but probably a lot less than, or I know for sure a lot less than Gran Turismo, but still it's focused, it is serviceable, it is, and very detailed, and I personally really go for quality over quantity. Instead of, that's also why open world games nowadays, in my view, are becoming boring and a yawn fest, because they're just too big, there's too much repetition, there's just copy pasted assets that you just fall asleep in them. Then give me something 10% size, but 10 times as detailed. That is so much more worth your time, I would say. Anywho, these are the tracks, and here we go. I do hope, because I really dialed down the in-game audio volume. Maybe, I'm not sure if I can do this while recording. I will try it. I will put the audio volume louder. So we do here, and then we do audio. We go to from 30 to 90, like so. And then let's do in-game cockpits. I have to, it has been a while, I have to remember what everything does. Sound design, in my book, is bar none. Simply the best sounding racing game, I think. One moment, I have to lower the sound again, like so. Hopefully it's now lower. And then we will do another replay just for the background. By the way, also the menu. This is not a specific like, but while we are here, it's very clean. It is not over cluttered. It does what it needs to do. It's just very refreshing. Only a couple of options. Also the options, it's all very focused. even the options could be a little bit less even if it were up to me. But yeah, you start the game, you have single player, you have arcades, career modes, time attack, or custom match. I think that's the online component, which is now offline. Time attack speaks for itself. Career mode, where you basically go through careers from September to I think January or February, and then you start back at September, and each time you progress through the month, and then you stop at the days where there are race events, and then you can participate. So that is the career mode, and then you also have some invitational events where you can win vehicles. Otherwise you buy vehicles with kudos, you unlock them. And kudos you earn by winning, by performing special moves. There are multiple ways to earn kudos. And then you have the arcade mode, and that consists of 10 chapters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And you can do them on cars and on bikes, except 2. I think this one is only for the bikes, and this one is only for the cars to the left, bikes to the right. And per chapter you have 6 challenges, so 6 medals to get. I think you can go from, I don't know, iron, silver, gold, and then the highest, what I did, or the toughest is platinum. And yeah, I can only recommend it. It's super duper frustrating, but it does provide, it gives you the most deep experience. Anywho, that was very briefly sidestep on the menu. So this is top level, and then you get into this one. That was my next like, basically on the audio. Menu music I already touched upon before. It's the same tune over and over, but to me, even after listening to it for, I will check it out now because I forgot. 123, so 124 with the epilogue, and then this review episode. Let's say 125 episodes. It didn't get old for me. So that is, yeah, in my view, a pretty successful menu music. Next like is the driving model. A lot of people say this is an arcade game, or yeah, sorry, I got distracted here. This is what I meant when saying earlier about those believable city scapes or textures. Again, I'm sure this is a real life HSBC bank somewhere in New York, and it just looks amazing. And then you have like this Popeyes besides it, a pharmacy. This is maybe Chinatown in New York. It is just, you have that beautiful skybox, and again, the color tone, it makes sense. This is just, these city environments for a racing game from 2007 are absolutely bar none, I would say. It's like a builder, if you wish past or you blast past in your game, it just looks photorealistic. So I wanted to just make that really hit that point home, so to say. And what more are we talking about? Yeah, the driving model. People say it's arcade or simcade. In my view, the model is too deep and believable than being arcade or simcade. I would say it actually leans more towards a sim model. For example, if you do burnouts or you do donuts, the mechanics when going around in circles, or when you're spinning your wheels and your back end is sliding around, it feels totally realistic. There's also this, when sliding around, this progressive loss, or you progressively regain your grip. The sense of speed is amazing. That's also partly due to the very well implementation of motion blur. You have a very noticeable aquaplaning effect. You have different handling on icy patches, so the environment really has like a noticeable impact. I find the cars themselves, they handle very individually. An open wheeler like an Aerial Atom handles totally different than what you would expect, like for example in this Testarossa that is on the screen, or you have like the, even within a certain class, like the Ferrari F50 versus the Ferrari FXX, both really focused track beasts. They really handle differently, and it's really quite deep, I find. And impressive, and I find it more of a sim model than an arcadey one-dimensional racer. But bikes can, for example, they can lean down in their fairing also for some extra aerodynamics. I don't think their impact is that noticeable. I didn't notice much of an impact in top speed, but maybe in acceleration it helps. Another nice example of a deep driving model, if you downshift too quickly and too much, so you go from 5th to 2 seconds, what would happen in real life happens in game. Your real wheels just lock up because they are they cannot handle the speeds the car is moving at in the gear that you force the car into. So you're going at the speeds of, I don't know, 150 and you smash it into second gear. Yeah, the gearbox cannot handle and the wheels lock up, and then you can actually spin out. Because if you're just in a corner or something and your rear wheels lock up, yeah, you will start to drift. So that is something that is implemented in the game. An arcade game will not have that level of detail. Also, another nice detail, not all bikes can do wheelies. An arcade racer, they would just say like, oh, it's epic, every bike can do a wheelie, etc. No, here it really depends on the power of the bike. You have, like, for example, that 1956 Gold Star in this game. You really have to, you can only get the front wheel up in the air maybe like, I don't know, 3 or 10 inches or something like that. Which makes sense. It's a very heavy, fully iron, probably post-war bike frame without a very powerful engine compared to modern bikes. So wheelies probably is not part of the menu on a bike like that, and the game simulates that accurately. And then there's also, I'm not sure whether it's a bug actually, or another nice driving model detail. But there is this one of the 2 Nürburgring events that you have the second one, the Behemoth event, where you have to do the Nürburgring in reverse. You start out on your bike behind a roster of mostly cars, and you have to you accelerate much faster, so you can overtake quite some cars during just after the start, including one of them is an FXX. And I noticed that if you get really close up the tail of the FXX, that the bike starts to wobble a bit. And I was like, okay, is this like a bug? What's up? But it could very well be that the developers implemented some kind of dirty, turbulent air, because that FXX is of course also wide open throttle, accelerating like a madman with its huge V12 6-7 liter whatever engine. So it could very well be that all that exhaust gas that is blasted out the rear ends disturbs the bike a bit. It's like messy air, and that's why if you get too close behind it, you start to wobble on your bike. So I'm still not sure whether it's a bug or a model, but if it is, or models, but if it is the latter, then again, an arcade game would never bother with such level of detail. So to me, the driving model, it's a total plus. And also on hardcore difficulty, it really requires genuine thought on how to tackle a challenge. You have to choose the right car, you have to learn the track, the car track combination, you have to mind the environmental hazards like rain or deep puddles or icy patches. And often, or not often, but regularly, you have to resort to blocking off simply faster cars to fend them off and to get the win. So it's a very deep experience with a lot of factors to consider, and it feels much more believable than, like, let's say a Burnout Paradise or an Outrun, than the true arcade racers. And actually, to me, it feels more believable than several games that actually call themselves a simulator. So I can understand people calling it a simcade racer. I myself go a step further, and I just call it more of a simulator. It's just an amazing, it's a deep, very rewarding driving. So that is my next plus, or my like. Then another one is the weather model. It can change mid-race and actually has a noticeable impact on the race itself. For example, you can race on bikes where the bikes have much lower top speeds than the cars. And you can still get an advantage by avoiding deep puddles that slow down the cars that do drive through them. And then you can get the edge and still win the race. So it's really the rain and the puddles are a very noticeable factor in the outcome of the race. They can really, if you use them to your benefit, it can compensate for your bike's lack of speeds. The deep puddles and icy patches, they also add an extra element of risk, because if you're in a car, you can aquaplane and lose control. So you can either, it's a trade-off, you go around them and maybe be sometimes a bit slower, or you go just blast full throttle over them and have the risk of losing control and ending your race. Also, for example, dense fog. It's not like a little grayish particle effects. No, in this game, dense fog really is dense fog. It really reduces visibility to, let's say, I don't know, 10 feet or something. Or no, let's say, I don't know, 50 feet or something. But it has a very noticeable impact on the race itself compared to when it's clear sky. So the weather it's not purely cosmetic. It has an impact on the gameplay, and it also, of course, it's cosmetics because it's done very well. It's very immersive. For example, racing with wipers on through heavy rain. Maybe I can see another replay with maybe one in Las Vegas. It's often in the nighttime. Pacific Pro. No, yeah, I don't really have good examples here, but yeah, for example, this is what we saw already earlier. This is the snow effect. And to me, it's so immersive. Like this foggy London on a cold winter's day. It's just very well done. Very immersive. So blasting through the heavy rain. So you really go from beautiful golden dusk skyboxes to thunder and lightning. The variety is great, and it also really gives each track a fresh feel in different conditions. That's something that I said earlier in the review episode. I showed the different tracks. I think there are 9, including the Michelin test track 10. But if you then include the different vibe they all get from the different weather effects, it's actually a bigger, you could consider it a bigger track list than only 10. For example, they modeled the Nürburgring in the snow and in the rain and in the sun, which are totally different textures, and it really feels like a really different experience. So the weather really also helps with keeping the in-game tracks feel fresh if you do them in different conditions. Alright, then we get to another like I have, and that is the challenge that the game brings. It's the hardcore career and platinum arcade modes, they have genuinely difficult stages. It's not made foolproof, dumbed down, appealing to the lowest common denominator like all modern games. The game literally takes no prisoners. It's old school hard. It can be super duper frustrating. In this playthrough I swear and cussed a lot, for which I already apologized mostly in those episodes themselves, but one retroactive big apology right now. Sorry for that, all my cussing is swearing. But anyways, I swear and cussed a lot, and it does really require a big time investment to learn all the track vehicle combinations. But the payoff and the sense of accomplishment that this game gives you is all the greater for it. So yes, it is crazy difficult, but there is a huge reward at the end as well. At least for me it is. And as an example, one stage, yeah, I already said it earlier, I mostly saved those replays of the ones that took me really long. But yeah, this is for my notes. One stage took me 3 hours, another 5 hours, and then the craziest of all, the 2 Nürburgring events, where one was 30 plus hours, 1000 plus attempts, that was, and I think it was actually 1500 plus attempts, so retries. And the other one of the Nürburgring events was an unexpectedly short, 7 hours. It's still very long, but I was expecting to be stuck there for longer, so I was happy with 7 hours. And yes, maybe or probably you're better than I am and you can do it quicker, but either way, hardcore career mode and platinum arcade mode, it's really not for the faint at heart. It really requires some time investment, and I respect the game from going that route. Not going along with the flow and dumbing everything down, no. If you really want to see a 100% on the hardest difficulty in this game, you have to really put in a lot of effort. I had to put in 125 hours, or most, they are around an hour I think of episodes, and that is this excluding all the failed attempts that I did not upload into it. So you see it over here. We have this one, it doesn't say any time, but this one, 7 hours, Nürburgring 32.5, the other Nürburgring 7 hours, this one 5 hours, then we have another one with 7 hours. I think I counted it up, I summed it up earlier in this review episode. I think it was around 60 hours. So plus the 125 hours of episodes, and it really took me like, I think, wouldn't surprise me if it was 200 hours. So yes, it's crazy, and I'm not the best player, so you can probably do it in half the time, but it is still not for the faint at heart. Let's do this one. This looks pretty cool, by the way. COK GTR. Unless it is, yeah, on the Nürburgring. This is the first Nürburgring event in the cars. The bikes are much harder. By the way, this car also sounds epic. I think not epic sounds the same. Anywho, the challenge, not for the faint at heart. There's like this, of course, factor of me simply driving bad and crashing out, which generated frustration. But frustration honestly also happens due to the game itself. When in hard challenges AI cars randomly block your path, or you get stuck in traffic with no way to overtake without slowing down too much to still go for the win. The AI can also brake check you, or they block you off track from behind. So all these can result in fails and time lost, and a lot of fails and time lost, which is not really under the player's control. It's kind of random, it's kind of RNG, and that can really, to me, really contribute to the sense of frustration, like that you're really losing out a lot of time, not really to your own, due to your own mistakes. But at the same time, I acknowledge that those situations happen in real life racing as well. There is this risk factor, the unknown of the opponents, their wild, unexpected actions. And an alternative game model where this would never happen would be boring. So this fact that you can be bumped off track, you can be brake checked, you can get stuck in traffic that basically loses you the race. It also adds to the tension that when you are going strong, that it all can go haywire in a millisecond. So that there's really this tension, sense of exhilaration that when you do succeed, you're all the happier because of it. Because you somehow, that RNG, besides your skill having to be on point, you also had to be RNG, the roll of the dice in your favor. And that it can also be a positive, so to say. So the bad moments, while genuinely frustrating, they do add to the good moments as well by making them more exhilarating. So in my view, ultimately it's a negative that is also a positive. So it's not a real criticism. The fact that the AI can be a bit unforgiving. But yeah, having said that, the frustration is not any less real. It can be this game. Yeah, I'm sure this is the playthrough that I swear and cost the most out of all of them. But yeah, then I get back to it. I respect the game for it. Ultimately, it is just very rewarding once you do get good and get the win. It's really, truly the Dark Souls of racing games, and I find that a compliment. Then we get to the next and last, like I wrote down, and that is the variation of events. You have many street events, street races, like the regular races, like you see on screen now, but you also have one-on-one races where you only have one opponent. You have overtake challenges where you have to overtake certain cars within the time limit. You have eliminator events where you have to avoid becoming last when the time runs out until there is only one car remaining. You have speed challenges where you have to last through mostly 4 checkpoints, and then your speed of those 4 measurements is added, and you have to get an objective total minimum speed. An objective being a minimal total speeds. Then you have the cone sprints where you have to swerve around cones on tracks. I really like them. You also have cone attacks where you have to bump over a minimum number of cones within the time. Then you have the checkpoint challenges. I think they're called breakthroughs races where you just have to finish the course and get to the next checkpoints before the timer runs out. You have hot laps where you just are by yourself and trying to meet target time. And then you also have to drift, more drift focus, so not really time focus, but superstar in time versus kudos. The latter is where performing or earning kudos, like basically that is done by drifting your vehicle. You can also do it, I think, with wheelies or maybe a handbrake turn, but it's more, most of the time you earn kudos by drifting. And in time versus kudos, earning kudos stops the clock, which allows you sufficient time to get to the finish line in time. And then you have superstar, where you just have to, for each, I think, 200 kudos points, you get a kudos star, and you have to get, like, for example, 40 kudos stars. But the hard part in that one is that it's not only time-based, you have to do that within a certain amount of time. It's also lap-based, you have to do it within 2 laps or something. So you are constrained in 2 dimensions. It's distance, you have to get 2 or 3 full laps. and it's time. You have to get there, complete that third lap within the time limit, and within those two constraints you have to earn the set amount of kudos stars, which is really can be quite tricky, especially on the hardest difficulty. And honestly, I didn't really like the superstar and time versus kudos events that much. I do respect it, the developers putting it in there just for the variation. I mean, opinions may differ, other people may absolutely love them, but to me they were a little bit of chores. And very frustrating ones at that, especially at the hardest difficulty level. But then there are other events that I really like. For example, the cone sprints, I really enjoyed those. Yeah, so variation of events in this game, I will quickly show you. It's just much higher than other racing games, I think. So we go to, let's do arcade modes, and then for example we do, let's say you want to do this chapter with 6 challenges. Then you have breakthrough, that are the checkpoints, you have the speed challenge, you have an overtake challenge, you have time versus kudos, where you stop the time by performing drifting actions to earn kudos that stops the time. Then you have a cone sprint, and you have the eliminator, where you don't want to be in last place when the intermittent timers run out. So yeah, there's a lot of variety. Eliminator, time versus kudos, street race, breakthrough, street race. That was pretty much the same. Street race, one-on-one, street race, one-on-one, eliminator, one-on-one. This is mostly more time-focused events, like you have to be quick. But there are also, yeah, this one as well. Where are the more drift-focused ones? Maybe here? No, it was indeed this one, Drifter 101. So here you have Superstar, where you have to earn kudos, minimum amount of kudos stars, time versus kudos, where you stop the clock by earning kudos. Cone Sprint, Superstar again, time versus kudos, and then Cone Attack, bumping over a minimum amount of cones, a target amount of cones. And here you have to, and of course Cone Sprint, it's the opposite, you have to avoid hitting any cones. I really like those. I really was also happy once I got this chapter done on the cars and the bikes, because as mentioned, I am more a fan of the actual speed challenges, the checkpoint races, the eliminator, the actual normal races like a street race, or you have the one-on-ones, or you have the, let's see if there's one here, you have the hot laps. Where are the hot laps? Here it is, here are some hot laps. So yeah, but maybe other people disagree and they like the stylish, I mean, it is a lot of fun to drift. That they like it better, I can fully understand, because it is a lot of fun. It is just me, I also had like this in the back of my mind, like I want to get to 100%, so at one point I don't unfortunately have limitless time. If I would have limitless time, I would play this game 24/7, no problem whatsoever. But I unfortunately have a boring fiat mining job, which takes me 50-40 hours a week. So at one point I also need to make some progress, because there are also other games on the agenda still. So it can be really frustrating to me when I am faced with like a Drifter 1-on-1 chapter where you keep on failing, accidentally hitting cones, or not getting the target amount of kudos stars. Then yeah, it can be super frustrating. But yeah, that is just me or sharing my thoughts on that, if you have different thoughts on it, it's just as valid, obviously. Or maybe even more valid, I don't know. Anywho, that was talking about the variation of events as a light. Then also regarding variation, this is the only game I know that does the Nürburgring in reverse, so where you really have to race it in reverse. Other games you can, like Gran Turismo, you can just do a 180 in your car and you can drive in reverse, but then you get that annoying pop-up like, you're going in the wrong direction. No, this game has like the behemoth event in the arcade mode, where the game wants you to get to know the Nürburgring in reverse. And that also adds to the variation. And as mentioned, they modeled the Nürburgring in snow, in sun and in rain. And driving it in thick snow, it's a totally different experience than driving it in the sun or in the rain. So also within the setup of the races, there's nice variation. So even when you have the same type of event, like a street race, it can be very different because of the direction or the weather, which really varies the experience. Then also variation in, as mentioned already, the vehicles, because besides cars, the game would have been totally fine if it only included cars, but you also have bikes, and it's a lot of fun. I really was honestly not looking forward to it once I completed I first did all the campaign and the arcade events with cars, and then I really was not looking forward that much to the bikes, because I didn't really play a lot of bike games. Somehow I want to play it for immersion in first-person view, and it felt very jerky, and also just very hard to get used to that totally different driving model compared to cars. So I was not really looking forward to it, but to be honest, it's amazing. It's super fun. You have really screaming, especially the GSXR. I think it's a Yamaha. I'm not even sure. Or is it a Suzuki? No, I think it's a Suzuki Hayabusa. And the GSXR, I think. No, that's also a Suzuki. Anyways, that is the one I think I used on the Nürburgring events, and it is a screamer, very immersive, visceral experience. So yeah, bikes, it also gives a totally new perspective. If you do the cars first, the whole career mode, you are only competing against bikes, and then suddenly you have to step on a bike yourself, and then you are racing against the cars, and you know what the cars, or you could imagine what the cars think of you on your bike, because you were there earlier as a car driver competing against the bike. So it is really that nice shift of perspective, which again adds to the variation. And it's also, bikes are totally different. They accelerate much faster, but their top speed is way more limited than some of the faster cars. So variation all around. And then also regarding different things to do regarding variation, this photo mode, it's really nicely done. It's very easy to take very cool pictures quickly. I didn't really played around with it that much, but it's many photo modes. I think I also didn't play around with it that much in Gran Turismo 7, but in Gran Turismo 7 probably they have way too many options. They're way too overwhelming. And this one, it is just hits that right balance between in-depthness and ease of use, and you can really take, there's one episode in the middle of the playthrough where I took some photos. You really can take some quite impressive photos, I have to say. Let's quickly to set focus depth maybe. Yeah, now everything gets out of focus. Yeah, I will not spend too much time on it, but yeah, it is just a very nice, functional photo mode that at the same time allows you to take really nice, really immersive pictures. So that is about the variation, my last like that I noted down. Is this the same race? Good. No. Also a very epic car, I have to say, the XJ220 in this game. Good memories. Now we get into the dislikes, and compared to the likes, it are much less. I really did my best, but I only could come up with two. One is that vehicle stats, or no, the main one is no retries in the career mode. I don't see any upside to it. Once you cross the finish line, you cannot retry or restart the race that you just finished. You can restart during an event, but it's really easy to accidentally cross the finish line. For example, if you're doing a hot lap and you are like 1/10 or half a second below the target time, you think, but you're actually aren't, then you can very easily finish in second place, and then you have no way to do it over and try to go for that win. So the natural, or the 360 experience, it's really almost impossible just to win each race. I don't see any upside to that. I played on the emulator, and on the emulator it's easy to just make a copy of your save game before you start an event. So even if or if you fail, you can just and then often the game already auto-saved in the 360 version, so then there's no way but to just continue. But in the with the emulator, you can just you can stop the emulator, you can overwrite your save game, and then you just continue where you left off. So that's the only reason that I was able to win each and every single event. Because if I would have played it on the 360, I'm sure I wouldn't have been able to, because there are no retries, and I don't see any upside to it. It really makes the game feel much more superficial, because you often, when you want to really get to know a specific track layout, and in combination with the car that you're driving, I can imagine that you've been really hard at work trying to go for that win, especially on the highest difficulty level. Restarting mid-attempt over and over again. And then suddenly you accidentally cross the finish line, and your whole attempt of getting first is down the toilet, and you have no other option than to continue. I don't see any upside to that. I wanted to say something else about this. Sorry, I lost my train of thoughts, but yeah, that is what I wanted to say. I think that I do understand maybe the rationale of the developers is that probably in real life you can also not restart a race if you're unhappy with the outcome. So, and in the arcade mode you can restart after it. So it's an understandable maybe in-between solution that they did not allow it in the career mode, but in the arcade mode you can actually restart and really get to know a certain track and a track car combination if you want to. But still, I have much preferred that if also in the career mode the game would allow you to go for all wins, and for that you just need to have a retry option, also not only during the event but also after crossing the finish line. It's not a major dislike, because for me it was not a problem because I played it on the emulator. But still, in general, it's a dislike. The other dislike, it's also not that big of a deal, but are the vehicle stats. They are functional. They provide enough of a guideline to choose an appropriate car for a certain event. Like if you have a drift challenge, you want a car with a high drift rating. If you have a top speed challenge, you want a car with a high top speed. That all pretty much makes sense. But sometimes it feels a bit random, the stats. So what you have are... Wait, I have to move my notepad. Damn it. How do you move it? Like so. You have 5 categories: acceleration, braking, grip, drifting and top speed. And for the events like street races, speed challenges, hot laps, cone sprints, you really want to have a car with good acceleration, good braking, good grip and good top speed. Drifting only really comes in handy during the drift events, like the Time versus Kudos and the Superstar. But yeah, so it is totally functional, but there are weird entries in there, and that sometimes makes it feel a little bit like, yeah, that you cannot really trust it, and that it can also be a bit of a time waster, that you go with a certain vehicle based on the stats, but it actually turns out not to be the optimal vehicle for the event that you have to do. So for example, what I noticed is that these lists that you see to the left, and then let's just go to, let's say, this class, or it's sorted by performance, but there can be wait, I had an explicit example actually, the Triumph Trident or something. This is the Gold Star. Yes, over here. This bike, or no, I think it was another bike or vehicle, but it's on top of the list here with performance. Like, oh, maybe this is also an example. We have the Subaru Impreza, 10 acceleration, 4 top speed. Then you have lower on the performance list a car with 7 acceleration, and instead of 4 top speed, 8 top speed. So it's totally unclear what are the criteria for how this performance list is ranked. Because not necessarily, like this one, 8 acceleration and 7 top speed. It's, to me, seems like maybe an overall faster car than the brutally accelerating Subaru, but which has a lower top speed. So that is a little bit unclear. And then oh, that was also here, I think. Yeah, just in general, sorry, it's a little bit of a messy notes section that I put down. But a vehicle in general, lower on the list, can have a higher top speed than one higher up on the list, and unclear what the performance criteria are. But even within the clear criteria, within the separate criteria, like speed, there can be inconsistencies. Like you have the Triumph Trident. That is the bike that we see over here. I tested it out in-game, and it has 2 top speed rating, and it maxes out at 200 kilometers an hour. While we also have the Manx, Norton 500 Manx, which has a top speed rating of 3. So you would expect a higher top speed. And again, it's unclear why it's lower on the list if it has a higher top speed. And here, this one has 7 acceleration. This one I think as well. 6. Yeah, okay, so they are one has one less acceleration, the other has one less top speed. But yeah, then why is it so much lower on the list? I don't know. Maybe because it has a couple of points less grip. Anywho, this Norton Manx, so the Triumph Trident had top speed stat 2. It topped out at 200 kilometers an hour, and this Norton 500 Manx, top speed stat 3. You would expect more than 200 kilometers an hour, but this Manx actually tops out at 190 kilometers an hour. So yeah, that is inconsistent, and you can say like, yeah, that's only 10 kilometers an hour, who cares? But in the harder difficulty levels, I can assure you that you will start to care for 10 kilometers difference in speed. So the stats can feel a bit random, and it can be a time waster. If, for instance, if you're really struggling with a speed challenge and you chose this Norton Manx because you think, it has 3 top speed rating, that's the highest of all the bikes in this vehicle class. And not knowing that there's actually a bike here that actually goes 10 kilometers faster. That really could be a difference between winning or losing. So that's a dislike of mine, that you can be in the wrong vehicle purely based on the somewhat inaccurate statistics, vehicle statistics. But then again, it's for the most part perfectly serviceable, and it really, there are not that many events where it really boils down to one stat more or less. But it is just something I thought to mention for completeness sake, and that concludes my likes and dislikes. And you really see that dislikes are in number and also in content much less impactful, or in number they're lower, and in topic they're much more superficial, like minor, compared to the likes, which are really, the likes really go really impact, they really concern the impact of the game, that I see a lot of positive points, and also the number of likes themselves, they're just a lot more. We had like the cool factor and playing fun, the vehicle lineup, detail and immersion, graphics, amazing audio, driving model very deep, the weather has a real impact, the challenge, it takes no prisoners, it's super hardcore, variation of events, much more than in other games. So then we go from, that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 likes, and we have 2 dislikes, no retries, and the vehicle stats somewhat inaccurate. That basically were all the points that I wanted to mention, and before going to the conclusion, which I promise I will keep very brief, only a couple of sentences, let's just for completeness sake also show the garage that you can enter in the game, which is also again for the variety great. Like if you have a little bit of downtime but you don't really feel like racing, it's also very immersive, or maybe just after a very hard fought battle, it can be very nice to just take some downtime and just browse your garages. So I'm really thinking, where the hell are they? I do think they're, no, here. They are here, I think. Here we go. So you have 4 levels. You start out with the amateur garage, and then the further you get, the higher tier garage you unlock. I don't know if it's kudos based or progress in the career mode based. By the way, unlocking what you do with your kudos, or what you use them for, is you actually unlock, I forgot where it was, you unlock new cars and vehicles, but also some cosmetic items like the chrome helmet you see my guy having on. So here you have starter vehicle pack, best of British, Americana. They all have like their little theme helmet packs. And then you also have some weird entries like 3D glasses cheat. I don't have 3D glasses, so I did buy it just for completeness. But you have sport bikes, street bikes, you have the Honda, the brand race, you can unlock some tracks, you have the Ferrari cars, you have some other tracks, Lamborghini, Suzuki, Ducati bikes, then you have the rough Ferrari, hypersports cars, and then the highest tier is the Caparo car that you can unlock with your kudos. And then there's just, as a bit tongue-in-cheek, there's one other unlock that you can spend your kudos on, 1 million kudos for a gamer picture pack. I think that's more like an online functionality. I did buy it, but I don't know what to do with it actually. But anywho, this is where you how you progress through the game. You can unlock better cars for the higher difficulty events as the game progresses. And when you're progressing, and I do think that is only limited to the career modes, you unlock those garages. So you have like more of a shed, but still pretty cool. And you also have like this again online functionality where you can take, with the photo mode I displayed, you can take pictures of your cars and you can then actually upload them to your garage, and I think even to maybe friends, online friends garages as well. Online component is not active in the emulator, and probably in the game neither anymore. But yeah, so here you see just some default that the developers, some pictures they put in. At least that's what I assume. These are not my pictures, right? No, I don't think so. But yeah, there's like this cool social aspect that you can actually put your photos on the walls of your garages. They also display your arcade, your rewards, your cups, your win cups. And then there's also this arcade game, which unfortunately I cannot play because the emulator crashes once I interact with this slot machine or gaming machine. I always forget how they, entertainment machine. I always forget how they are called. But yeah, so there are some things to do. You can look at your trophies, your pictures on the walls. You can play Geometry Wars, and you can of course look at the a nice detailed version of the cars, which again for a 2007 game they really look pretty amazing, I would say. So this is the first one, and then maybe I will not show all of them, or yeah, you already saw them if you watched the playthrough. Just also for me to close it out, this was the second one. Yeah, I didn't really like this one. This one is on the Michelin test track. And then we have the hot shot one. This one is pretty cool. It looks a bit like, I would say, Elvis garage. A little bit roaring 60s. Epic pictures. I wonder whether these pictures are random as well. I don't really recognize them. And the garages actually sometimes are quite big. They have like multiple areas. And you can also, I forgot, you can take pictures in your garage. And you can, yeah, that's basically what you can do. Again, look, admire your trophies. Nice Delta Integral. There's the rocket car, the first design of Gordon Murray, as I mentioned earlier in the review episodes. Pretty epic thing. Would be a blast to drive in real life, I'm sure. And that is that, by the way, indeed, when I was talking about cars, I was talking about this rocket car and also the Lotus Europa that I couldn't remember the name of, and here it is. I still find it a hybrid between a pickup truck and a sports car, but maybe that's just me. I find it a really weird design. So this is the hotshot garage, and then finally you enter the master garage, where you have your own helipads, your own villa, helicopter over there, your cool cars. Really looks a little bit like a Scarface mansion, but cool nonetheless. Really wish I would have it. And if you have this, you probably don't have a day job anymore, so you also have a lot of time to enjoy it. It's amazing. I put some JDM icons in here, the Supra and the RX-7, and also this bike. I don't remember, no, I didn't drive it that much, but it's just a fun. Check out the mirrors on this one. It's just crazy. What retarded mirrors. I mean, talking about aerodynamics. And I think I looked this one up. This one, I can now maybe look it up online instead of looking it up in the vehicle menu. I think this car, I would think, oh, this is like a 70s car or something. Or bike, sorry. But it's actually much newer than that. I think I already looked it up. I think it's a 90s. It's a 1990 bike or something. Let's quickly look it up. The RR1200 Battle Twin. Here, 1988. So that is indeed a 1990s, probably it was still in production. Here, 1990 Buell RR1200 for sale. It's almost like Buell is trolling the buyers. Like, will you really buy a car or a bike with side mirrors this huge? I mean, if you collapse them, not expand them, or however you call it, if you flip them in, I'm sure you will gain like 10-20 kilometers an hour on your top speeds. That's how much of a drag they look like they would be creating. And then of course here the Knight Rider car. Again, talking about variety of the car lineup. It's not a huge roster, but it has so many iconic cars. I mean, this car, I didn't really like the handling or the power. It was way slower than I expected, but this is like an icon from my youth, watching Michael Knight in Knight Rider in Kids. So, and you have also these, this is that Norton Manx, I think, these cool older bikes. You have the JDM Legends, you have the Testarossas, you have just so much. This game really is so much deeper if you take the time to explore it. So that brings us to the conclusion. That was the last garage, but not before quickly showing you the vehicle lineup. So I don't know, there's not a number here or anything, but yeah, almost every vehicle here is cool in some way or another. This is that early Countach, this is the Koenigsegg, this is apparently the most powerful production bike at the time. I wasn't aware, I thought it was always the Hayabusa, but so, this is 2007, when was the Hayabusa? I don't even know, I think the Hayabusa is lower on the list. But also slower cars, like this RS500, it's only like in one of the lower vehicle classes, but it's such a fun car to drive. You really hear I think the blow-off valve of the turbo. It's really amazing. Also, this old school GT40, much more fun I find than the modern one. But you have the Ferraris, the old one, the new ones, the F50, epic car to drive, the F40, of course, epic car to drive. The Daytona, they have such a nice selection of course, the most expensive car ever, the 250 GTO. It's an amazing lineup, like the Viper GTSR. Oh shit, wrong button. The open wheelers like the Palmer, like the Mitsubishi Lancer Epic, although it's a newer generation than the 22B Impreza, Subaru Impreza, but still they're both iconic cars in their own right. SLR McLaren, the COK GTR, the COK DTM GTR, a car that is wildly, I think, underappreciated. Not a lot of games have this car in their game, and PGR4 does. So the McLaren F1 LM, MC12, Lotus Exige, the Europa that we saw in the garage. Also the small little slow Lotus Cortina, but still fun, it's in there. The car lineup, it is just, I will not go through all of them, although there is one thing I quickly want to say before closing it off, or check before closing it off, and that is that we had that Suzuki, that fastest production bike, the blue one we just saw, I think it was. Also cool Mustang Fastback. It was a 2007, I think. Yes, then I wonder whether the Hayabusa is the same generation, because that Suzuki description says it's the most powerful bike of its time. 2006 jet engine bike. Where is the Hayabusa? Why is the Hayabusa this low on the list? What year it is? Yeah, 2006. I was pretty certain that here, over many years, the Hayabusa consistently tested as one of the world's fastest motorcycles. Oh, okay. It's the same time frame as that Suzuki, and apparently the Hayabusa is not the fastest, but one of the fastest. I thought it was the fastest. I'm sure it was just after its release, it was the fastest. But this one, it says, so it's 1 year later, the world's most powerful production motorcycle can accelerate to 62 in 2.5 seconds and can complete a quarter mile in 9.8. Yeah, so maybe there's a difference here with powerful, the most powerful production bike, between acceleration and top speed of the Hayabusa may be higher. I don't know, this one is top speed 9 in the Hayabusa. And again, take the stats with a grain of salt. Yeah, Hayabusa is also 9. So let's do one last learning moment in this review episode. Of course, it has nothing to do with the review, but just quickly, sorry, we do Hayabusa, fastest bike in the world. The fastest road registered motorcycle on the planet is a Suzuki Hayabusa Turbo. Okay, but that's a tweaked one. Currently on the list, in 2022 it was 9th out of a list of 10. But at release, Hayabusa at release 2006. One moment, like so. Was the Hayabusa the fastest bike in the world? After the much anticipated Kawasaki Ninja ZX-12RR of 2000 fell 6 kilometers short of claiming the title, the Hayabusa secured its place as the fastest standard production bike of the 20th century. Yeah, so it is quicker. So then we have the Hayabusa, it goes top speed of 303 to 312 kilometers an hour, 188 to 195, 94. But then we quickly look at the top speed of that other bike. according to this article, the Hayabusa was the quickest of the 90s, so... Or not the 90s, what did it say? It only... Here it says it was made in 1999. That could be it. So it says here it was the fastest production bike of the 20th century. So that is up to 2000. So it could very well be that during its long production run from 1999, because here in this game it says the Hayabusa is 2006. Probably got some improvements, but it could very well be that during those subsequent years stronger competitors came onto the scene. So let's compare this one to the Hayabusa. So the Hayabusa we had 188 to 194 miles an hour. And let's check quickly out this 2007, I think it was, yes. 2007 ZX14. I never heard of this bike before this game. Top speed Kawasaki ZX14 from 2006 to 2022. Yeah, so that's the difference. The Hayabusa is way older. That's from the Hayabusa is from 1999 to the present actually. I was not expecting that. So it just started its production earlier, but they're both still in production except the ZX14 only till last year, then it stopped. So it's actually not still in production. It was introduced in 2006. And accelerating in 2.5 seconds to 60. The top speed is electronically limited to 299, 186 miles an hour. As a result of an agreement between the major Japanese and European motorcycle manufacturers. Yeah, okay. So how much horsepower does it have? Sorry, this is a really long... 190 horsepower, this is a really long sidetrack. 190 horsepower in the Hayabusa, which was not electronically limited. It has horsepower. First generation, yeah. Let's go with that one. 173, so it's not that much less. 17 horsepower is less. Anywho, the whole list here is pretty damn amazing, and that brings me after the garages, after the vehicles, after the likes, after the dislikes, which had many more than the dislikes, brings me to the conclusion of the episode. And basically, as mentioned, I will keep it very short. The dislikes are minimal. If you want a visceral, action-packed, deep racer, go play PGR4. It truly is a lot of fun, and if you wish a true challenge with a great sense of achievement, it's really the game for you. Personally, it blasted into my top 3 favorite racing games, probably besides Gran Turismo 4. Yeah, actually, maybe up till now, there is no racing game that actually gave me the amount of joy and or fun, enjoyment, and also challenge than any other. So maybe it is my favorite racing game. Yeah, maybe I'm going to go out on a limb, and notwithstanding several other racers that I fully respect. But yeah, as a total package, the amount of fun, the combination between action-packed, adrenaline-filled craziness and realism. Yeah, okay, maybe I will not put it because I'm kind of a serious gamer. I'm also Yeah, it's really hard. I just don't know. It's in my top 3. It could be my number 1. It will exceed the scope of this PGR4 review to now start to compare it to all kinds of other racers. But to reiterate, if you want a visceral, action-packed, deep racer, go play PGR4. It's totally amazing. If I have to rate it out of 10, I would give it a 9.5 out of 10. And that brings us to the end of the deep playthrough with one epilogue, 123 regular episodes, then one epilogue episode where I test out any vehicles I was not able to use during the career in the arcade mode, and then now this review episode, so 125 episodes in total. Guys, I hope you enjoyed. I hope to see you in the next playthrough, and for the meantime, you yourself as well, do not forget to always keep on gaming. See you later.